So our business, Sunil, we started in 2018, and we have two missions. One of the problem we have been fighting for is the traffic congestion in big cities of India. Also the air quality, which has been a big pain point for our country. And we thought that because mobility contribute almost one third of the air pollution, if we do something on the mobility side, then we also impact the environment positively. So while at core we are a mobility company, but we are also worried about air quality. So that's the whole business or problem statement we are going after. Company is formed by four of us. We know each other for last more than 15 years. Very interesting journey. Along with me, I have R.K. Mishra, Amit Gupta, Naveen Dachuri, and we all are very passionate about this problem. We think that this problem matters to the country and it's not easy one. So we are putting our might behind that. Now coming to the narrative and the problems solution, as we know that we have our roads are clogged, and primarily it's a misuse of the road space, the limited road space which we have got. Many times if you just look at the road, you will see one car, one person, and as a country, with so limited resources, we don't have that choice. So we thought that what if we give a solution where someone who is moving in and out in the city can use a smaller vehicle. And to attack the air quality problem, we wanted to make it a sustainable mobility, which is use either EV or some vehicle which is not producing any air pollution. We did our analysis and we found out that almost 2/3 of any trips in big cities, they are below 5 kilometers. And this small distance can be very well changed with this new form factor. And this is not just India, but globally also. If you look at China, Europe, and even America, everyone is now looking at this is small vehicle for small distance. And they actually ended up giving a name to this category. They started calling it micromobility. So micromobility is a small vehicle for small distances, and that's the category of mobility of urban mobility regime which we are in also. 2018 we started with bicycles. We got an IoT device which was making these bicycles smart bicycles, using which we were able to track the location. Not only that, my users, they were able to open the lock of these bicycles using Yulu app. So they were not only smart, but they were also connected to the cloud, which enabled this business model to make it contactless. So to use our service, you don't have to go to a shop, you don't have to talk to someone, you just do it everything on your own. Thanks to digital payments penetration, even for payments, is absolutely wallet driven. You click a button, you pay using Phone Pay, Google Pay, Paytm, credit card, debit card, whatever you have. And we basically are riding on this whole new digital highway which got created because of Geo's omnipresence or smartphone omnipresence. And we think that this is a perfect timing for business model like ours to thrive. Now, when we launched these bicycles, and by the way, we started in Bangalore, we got good traction, I would say. At the same time, we found out that because of the weather condition and people's preference in using bicycles in general, for daily commute was not very high. So people were okay taking them out for morning, and they were okay maybe even for work for less than 1 or 1.5 kilometer distance. But the moment the distance is below that, they were not okay. We were not getting the critical mass. And after some research, we found out that we need to have some kind of powered solution. We had two probably potential solutions for that. One thing is go with a petrol scooter, which is very common in India, as you know, TVS Scooty, Honda Activas of the world. But we were not convinced. We were not convinced because of the damage it will cause to the environment. So we thought that we are going to move one problem from one pocket to another. It's not cool. Secondly, which was even more important problem, we thought that business model is not going to work. So when we did our off the envelope calculation, we were very clear that these scooters running on petrol, they will never make business sense. So rather than we wasting our money and time on petrol scooters, we decided to just move to electric mobility. Having said that, even electric mobility was not that easy. I'm talking about July 2018, almost 2 years ago. There was no vehicle for shared mobility. There was no suitable batteries for Indian climate condition. Uh, there was no charging infrastructure either. So while we thought that okay, petrol is not an answer, but the solution set for EV was also not there. But with a leap of faith, where we thought that if we have to die fighting, at least build something which is a future. So we decided not to spend our, as I said, time and money and energy on petrol. We put all of our organization resources towards electric mobility. And what happened in this process, we actually got very good success. Not only we have a very, very unique product which is designed for the Indian context, that too for shared mobility, but also we are able to produce a very, very healthy unit economics, which I think is a fundamental part of our business. While some of our global peers, they have been losing money, we are producing very high operating margin, and hence our ability to build a very large business and make a huge impact on the society. Sitting today, we have now close to 8,000 pedal cycles and around 8,000 electric two-wheelers. We call it Yulu Miracle. They are low speed, low weight product, and because of this low speed and low weight, it does not require helmet, license, number plate, and the product is very, very easy. So our claim to fame is someone who has done even a bicycle in his or her childhood can get to Yulu Miracle in a matter of 30 seconds. Even if you don't know how to ride a scooter or motorcycle, but Yulu Miracle is like a cakewalk. And this actually has been a big value proposition for us, because not only we are very easy and comfortable to ride, but from our own operations perspective also, this has done wonders, because vehicle being small, that requires a very small battery, very small motor, and our operating cost and the way we have to manage it, everything is just small. And it actually helps us a lot when you look at the overall cost structure in conjunction with the revenue we are able to do.
Now, like you are mentioning about these bikes, I was interested in knowing about the design of the bikes, because if you look at it, their design is totally different. I mean, it looks like totally different from what at least Indian roads have seen. So how did you come out with the design, and what are the ergonomic features? As in, I'm sure you must have said size, fuel efficiency, and even convenience. So how did you go about designing these two models for the?
Very good point, Sunil. So if you look at our business, our major cost items, if we have to spend money to keep them running. So first one is repair and maintenance, second one is the battery charging, and the third one is what we call rebalancing. Rebalancing is nothing but we move some of our vehicles towards those pockets where we see larger demand. So supply, the vehicle is sitting somewhere, but demand is somewhere else. So we move close to 15% of our assets on a daily basis. And we have to move them in a small Tata Ace vehicle. But three things are the 80 to 90% of our operating cost. Now, if we basically talk about cheap repair and maintenance, then you have to make sure that the parts which are there in the vehicle are non-breakable. And that's the kind of the secret sauce. We've decided not to keep any plastic bodies. So out of almost 49 components in the vehicle, only 2 or 3 of them are plastic, everything else is metal. So rather than we trying to, kind of put some plastic shell or make things fancy, we have gone towards making things robust. In our word, it's called naked frame, where we have opted not to put plastic parts. It's a bare, MS steel, which is ready for abuse, ready for tough conditions. And because of that, our repair and maintenance cost is very, very low. The second point is around the battery, where we have chosen a battery which is swappable, and we have set up a very unique charging stations using Kirana shops partnership. We have been able to place these charging station where my guy is able to go and pick up the batteries and able to swap them on the spot. So that is the second thing which is helping us in our design, why we chose whatever we chose. And last but not the least, because of the rebalancing, if vehicle is small, it is lighter, it is cheaper for us to move. So the space which we, let's for example, Tata is vehicle, we are able to put 9 to 10 vehicles in one go. If we put a Honda Activa, I will be able to carry only maybe 4 or 5. So imagine your ability to reduce the OPEX by 50% just because the vehicle is small. And the insight has been that 90% of the time when you are going for a daily office work, you are alone. So if you just visually look at the road, 90% of two-wheelers, only one person is there. So why we should provide a vehicle for two people, which will not only add the dimension from a volume perspective, weight perspective, motor perspective, and then battery perspective, it is all based. So that was the reason for us to choose what we have chosen in the past. And it has worked out very, very well across all dimensions.
And I would also be interested in the overall technology, the overall technological approach. Like you said, you put an IoT device which makes it a smart bike. Then there's the SIM card, Bluetooth. Then there's the mobile apps, GPS. So you have 8,000 bags. So I mean, what does the backend look like about your cloud operations, and how do you monitor it? What are the problems you face? So from the whole technological overview, I'd like to know.
So just like the vehicle, Sunil, and the battery charging infrastructure, there was no suitable IoT also available for our types of need. When we started, we took something off the shelf, but very quickly we realized that it is not what Indians climate will be, working with. So we put in our own engineering resources. We ended up designing our own IoT, which is making these vehicles smart. And I think that decision was also correct. We are much better off than we used to be. From a technology perspective, it has got, I would say, 3 important components. One thing is the hardware. Hardware in our case is the IoT, which sits within the vehicle, which is sending information to the server, telling the location, telling the well-being of the vehicle. So we have several sensors. Also enables a user to open and close it. It has got its own Bluetooth, GPS, data connectivity, SIM card, everything is part of that IoT. The second component in our technology stack is our cloud platform, which is talking to the IoT and also does a lot of data processing where we use AI and ML, machine learning and artificial intelligence to understand the demand and supply projections and pockets and take necessary measures. And the third layer of our technology is in the form of app, which is being given to my user. So we have 2 types of apps. One app is given to the user for him or her to locate the vehicle, open, close, pay, everything. And the second app is being given to my ops team, who basically understand that vehicle number 1, 2, 3 sitting here requires battery swapping, or vehicle number 4, 5, 6 requires some repair and maintenance, or the sanitization process, which is also a part of the operations team. This has to be done on this particular area. And we actually have been able to leverage technology to run our operations seamlessly and very, very efficiently. And apart from that, we also have a concept which is, by the way, not part of the technology stack, but our operational stack, I would say. We have created these dedicated spots with the, throughout the city. We call them Yulu zone. So unlike your service in China or the US, where vehicle can be picked up and dropped anywhere, we have chosen to not follow that template. We basically we ask our users to pick up the vehicle from our designated spot and then return it across the city. There are so many of them. We have close to now 1,400 Yulu zones in Bangalore, for example. They have to put it back next to, very close to their destination. And our apps allows them to identify which is the closest Yulu zone near to their destination. Most of the time, they will have it at their home or their office, so that you don't have to worry. But in case it's not there, you just have to walk maybe for 100 or 200 meters additionally.
So, like this was about the company and your operations. Now, obviously, most people are interested is in the COVID-19 crisis and the lockdown. So, during this, how have your operations changed? What has been like the usage? And I mean, the bike has to be sanitized more often. And also, did like Corona warriors and medical workers and delivery boys use Yulu more and all? So, I'm sure there must have been a sea change that has happening to all companies and all technologies. So, what are the changes you have seen in the last few months?
Yeah, so very good question, Sunil, once again. So when lockdown were announced, we actually had to suspend our service. So we disable all of our vehicles to be opened by our users. At the same time, we saw that we have an opportunity to serve the cities. So we certainly could have just sit and have work from home or whatever, or relax at home without worrying about business or the city. But we thought that there's a role which we have to play. So we had two things going on during that time when the lockdowns were there. First of all, there were Corona warriors who were working in hospitals, in banks, who had to do some important work. So they started reaching out that I was relying on public transportation, I have nothing, can you help? So we created a new pack called Corona Warriors, under which we were able to send the vehicle, fully sanitized vehicle, to that person's place, and then were able to give them a dedicated charger for themselves. If you look at our regular service, our consumers, they don't have to charge the battery. We take care of that. But because our operation team was not fully functional, we said, you keep this charger. We will give you a feature in your app where you can open it. Otherwise, you cannot open as a user. The battery is also, there's a smart lock. You cannot open that as a user. But during that time, we said, you will be allowed to open that. So there were more than 100 plus such Corona warriors where we helped out. But the second thing was, which was more important and interesting, that we started delivering groceries and medical medicines for the people who needed it. So we gave our vehicles to the companies who basically saw a surge in their business by almost 5 to 10 times. And in certain cases, the folks who have been doing our repair and maintenance, we basically put them along with our bikes to deliver food and medicines for these companies, partner companies. So for almost throughout the lockdown period, our team, which is part of the office setup, they were anyway working from home and creating something interesting. At the same time, the people who are part of our on-ground ops team, they're typically blue-collar people, they started delivering essential services and goods. So we were busy throughout the lockdown. And the moment lockdown were over, we started seeing some people who needed to be on the road, they needed to go to office or for something or the other. We actually saw a very quick recovery of our business. And the reason was that they were worried about their own personal safety due to coronavirus. And under that, they didn't want to go to a bus, or they didn't want to use even auto rickshaws or taxis. And service like Yulu, we are basically the rider is the only person, it's a solo driving. So there's no co-passenger, there's no driver. So you are the only person. And more importantly, the number of touch point of our vehicle is only 3. So 2 handles and the back seat where you have to use it to pull up it on the stand. So we basically became the safest public mobility solution in the country. And we saw a very quick jump in our usage pattern. And we also saw we were not the only one across the globe. Companies of similar profile, rest of the world also, they saw the same story. Be it New York or San Francisco or various cities in Europe and in China. And we basically had the same narrative. One more thing we did, we actually spent a lot of energy in understanding how China recovered from the lockdown. And we found out that the sanitization process actually has an important role to play. So we also started sanitizing our vehicles multiple times per day. So what happens in our case, our vehicles are being sanitized. So the team who was cleaning and doing the battery swapping, etc., same team was trained to sanitize the vehicle. They were given WHO certified chemical. They were certified that they will clean them multiple times per day. And the moment the bike is being sanitized, we record that event in the server. And we show this information to the consumer. So for example, when you are scanning a QR code of a vehicle, we will show you that at what time this vehicle was sanitized last. And if the vehicle has not been sanitized for more than 24 hours, we stop being used from for the other person. In fact, what we have done in cities where the infection rate is very high, the Bombay and the Ahmedabad, etc., you are not allowed to use the bike after someone else has used. So if I have used, the vehicle will be necessarily sanitized for the next person to get used. All of this is basically technology control. So we have that level of flexibility over technology to set up these rules on the basis of the cities or the basis of the pin codes. In Bangalore, our SLA is 24 hours, but looking at the data, on an average, the vehicles are being sanitized for more than 2 times per day. We are the only company in the country who is actually showing that level of transparency. And our whole aim was that we wanted to be the safest mode out there. Now, this is not the only side of the safety. We equally actually were concerned about, or we did a lot of work and educated our customers also, our users also, that you also have a role to play. You have to wear the mask while using Yulu, and you have to sanitize your hands after every usage. So we think that if you follow these 2 simple rules, wear mask and sanitize your hands after every usage, you are safe. You are only touching 2 handles and the seat bar, that too using it for 25 minutes, and if you sanitize your hands, you are sorted. So nothing can happen to you. And this actually reflected in the type of market share we started getting. So people drifted away from other modes to Yulu, and we actually became the only service, as I said, which was able to provide that kind of transparency and safety from coronavirus.
So, and another area of interest is the post-COVID world and the new normal. So, like if you look at the future of transportation, people initially would have thought that something like a large mass transit system is the answer. That is, but now people say that's not the solution. The term you mentioned, the micromobility, that seems to be the solution. So basically, I mean, something like a solo electric bike rider is more appealing now in this new world. So, and also like, I mean, whoever has ridden an electric bike, they've really, the normal bike, the problem is you cannot put that much physical activity every day. And as you said, the car, if one person rides, it's a waste. So, I mean, right now the electric, small electric bike with a solo rider does appear like a solution. So I'd want to ask you, like, just, I mean, if you can go ahead a bit and maybe a bit theoretical, what do you think is going to be the new normal of the transportation industry in the next few years, and where does Yulu, sit in all of that?
Sure. So, Sunil, we believe that any sustainable city, the real answer towards the mobility of the people actually is the public transportation. So public transportation, as you know, metro is fully clean. There's no fuel, which is very good. And also buses, which are also relatively clean if you look at the emission per person. And also they are also being electrified, which will make things better. At the same time, the issue in using public transportation has been that we do not have a good solution for the first and the last mile. So Yulu's biggest use case has been first and the last mile connectivity for the public transportation. That's why we get lot of encouragement and lot of support from the cities, because they see us as a partner in their mobility solution for the citizens. That's the first one. You are right in current scenario, because people are not using public transportation with the same gravity. People are using us instead of, let's say, using a bus, or instead of using an Ola and Uber and auto. And we think that there will be a phase, till the time there's a better control on coronavirus problem or there's a vaccine. But steady state, once again, will be a combination of public transportation along with micromobility services like Yulu. So I don't think if Bangalore and Delhi and Bombay, which will have tens of millions of people who need to move for economic reason, we have any other answer but to move people in public transportation. So that's at least the way I look at it. But you are right. India's mobility, we have been talking about India's mobility becoming sustainable and electric. It is not going to be led by a personal four-wheeler, for sure. In general, our four-wheeler penetration, as you know, is very, very low. And that small number buying electric car on their own, not going to happen easily. But it will be primarily driven by two-wheeler and three-wheeler, and that too for the fleet. Because me as a fleet owner, I'm actually getting a full ROI by going electric. My total cost of ownership is very, very affordable, very, very cheap if I use electric. So for me, there's no other reason for not to go electric. And if I look at that particular point I made, that 90% of the time you are anyway alone on a two-wheeler, why waste energy and resources on making it big? So with that argument, you are right. The mobility for India will have a huge component of self-driven, solo, sustainably run two-wheelers. So we believe in that theory, and that's what Yulu is trying to do, and that's our solution set.
Do you think we are ready for dedicated bicycle tracks? Because previously it was a mindset, and I have seen Corona has changed everyone's mindset. So I think now if we push for bicycle tracks, it may happen. But you can do it because you are in touch with governments and all. So I wanted to know whether anything is happening on that front.
So very timely question. From day one, actually we have been a big proponent and advocate for the dedicated infrastructure for small and slow vehicles. We think that if it happens, then suddenly the amount of adoption to these services will be becoming 10x very easily. And we have data to prove that theory. So be it London, where they created dedicated lane and we are seeing a huge surge in usage. China is a big example. Entire country runs on those small vehicles which are sustainable. Now, as far as our big cities are concerned, so Bombay actually has been looking at bringing up this policy soon. Even our own city, Bangalore, there's a proposal with the government. In fact, the budget was approved for a first pilot. I think it was close to 100 odd kilometers of dedicated lane. But because of Corona and because of some changes in the political circle, it got delayed. We are hopeful that now government is in a very open mind to pursue that, and not only India, but there are 100 odd cities across the world who basically have now created dedicated infrastructure for bicycles, e-bicycles and e-scooters. And the reason was very simple. Most of them did a survey and they said, okay, how will you go to your home, to your office, to your place of work after the lockdown is over? And people who were using public transportation, they were very, very worried. And this was across the globe. And what else will they do? They will say, okay, I'll buy my own vehicle. Now imagine if so many people buy their own vehicles, we will be 10 steps back from where we are. We don't have spaces to even walk, forget driving or riding. So for these cities to mitigate that and also, not go back to the same very, very, unhealthy air, they basically have taken drastic steps to create this kind of infrastructure. Same argument is being used right now in our country as well, where top politicians and bureaucrats, they are very, very much positive about these infrastructure creation. So I'm very hopeful that with whatever tailwind we have got because of Corona, maybe those policy decisions and infrastructure decision will be now fast tracked. Ministry of Urban Development and Housing Affairs, uh, they're also pushing very hard. They've in fact sent an advisory to all states saying that we should look at promotion of these non-motorized transportation in a big manner. So let's see, fingers crossed. And if it happens, then I think not only you and I, but also our next generation. So my kid who is like 16-year-old, I will be very, very mentally open to let him go to his school, to his coaching, to his classes, whatever, without any fear. Person with whatever fear we have got because that roads are not so safe. Touch wood, we don't have many accidents in our history, so it actually may be restricted to 7 or 8 accidents till date. They were also not fatal, so we were very lucky, at least with our journey. But this will bring 10 times more people than what we think we can do with our business as usual efforts.
So I think maybe one last question about, like, I'd be curious to know about who are the users. I'm sure you must have those statistics. I mean, who are the kind, whether it's young people, students, and like when is the usage of the bike the most? What is the average, a person uses a bike? Then you are across multiple cities. Is there any difference in the way the cities use the bikes? So whatever
Sure.
you can share on these things, if you can.
Sure. So first of all, our service is not like everyone can use it in an entire city. That's not like that. Because we have a restriction of you have to pick it up from one Yulu zone and only drop it to a Yulu zone, we have been able to manage where we want to run this service. So when we started the operation, we have picked areas which has got lot of offices space. So for example, if I talk about Bangalore, it is Whitefield, Electronic City, Outer Ring Road, Rindanagar, Core Bangla, MG Road. These are the areas where people are typically going to work. And we have created our Yulu zone next to a metro station, bus station, shopping malls, offices, residential areas, complexes in those areas. And because of that, we see people typically who are white collar. So they work in an IT company, they work in an office space in MG Road. So they are our users. I will not claim that these are the only users. We do see people across different income strata. But at the same time, there's no bias that it is only for rich or poor. We see users across all income type, which is a good thing. And also we have kept our pricing very, very affordable. We are, by the way, cheaper than auto rickshaw from a per kilometer basis. And we think that's the right price point for India, where we have to provide something of that reliability and affordability. The second question you asked me about the age. So from age profile perspective, we actually see a pretty healthy mix of users, literally from 18 years to 35 years age, where we have, when we did our own survey, so we saw almost 80% of our users between 18 and 35 years of age. After that, it's a big long tail. And the reason for that is, if you look at metro, this every age group people are using. And we see almost 45 to 50% of our usage having a leg of a metro or a bus. So people are basically using us in a very meaningful manner as a first mile, the last mile. The third thing is, you asked me about that if there is a difference in different cities. So answer is actually yes. Bangalore, because the way our city is and our metro system is still developing, we see a lot of usage from home to work. For example, in Outer Ring Road area or Core Mangla, where there is no metro, or Electronic City, people will start the ride from their apartment, they will go to office and do this. But if I look at our pattern in New Delhi, the usage is primarily as a first and the last mile. We got permission from Delhi Metro to create Yulu zone at every metro. While we are not present in the entire city, but it is very metro dependent. Unlike Bangalore, where half our business is metro led and half our business is nothing to do with metro because metro is still not there. Now, as far as Mumbai is concerned, we started our journey from Navi Mumbai, where there's no metro, but there's a suburban railway. So we see the same pattern where people are using, and unlike Delhi and Bangalore, the personal vehicle ownership in Mumbai in general is very, very low. So we see a lot of people not only using our vehicles for going to the suburban railway station as a first mile and the last mile option, but also taking a vehicle to run errands. So they will have to go to a grocery shop, they pick up our vehicle, go and come back, which is very unique and very different. We believe that, and by the way, we are going live in Bombay, the proper Bombay also, the moment we have a better situation in Corona. So we have a permission to go live in BKC. BKC will be like a typical, tech park and metro combination in Bangalore or Delhi, where a lot of people, they use Kudla station, Bandra station, they come and they want to then reach to BKC. Same thing, lot of people who come in bus, the bus will drop them to bus station and then their own building will be maybe a kilometer away. So they will use Yulu service. So we are doing it in conjunction with MMRDA, which is Mumbai's flagship authority, who is helping us in this launch. So this is how the city usage pattern is different. Even weather pattern is very, very different, as you know. So for Delhi, we had to worry about the high temperature. So our first version of battery was not good for more than 40 degrees centigrade. And we know how Delhi, notorious weather is. But our new batch of batteries is capable of even touching 55. So no problem. Bombay, our very first batch of battery was okay, but it was not great because there were certain areas our vehicles were getting submerged. So very heavy rainfall, vehicle will be submerged, and what we had was IP65. But now our new batch of batteries have IP67, which means that if vehicle is submerged for 24 hours, no problem. Although we don't let that happen, but we are much better equipped technically and from hardware perspective in these two cities. And I think the cultural point of using a shared vehicle is also a little bit different. So we have some interesting patterns there also. But usage-wise, weather-wise, they're all basically different stories. And that's what we have to go and learn. And that's also one reason, we have not gone to, tens of cities or hundreds of cities in India. We think that every city requires some hand-holding. We need to understand the usage pattern and then grow. And then maybe over next 3 to 5 years, we look at a more expansion of Yulu service in India, other Indian cities.
So anyway, thank you so much for your time.